live again. Last stream, if you saw it, was me playing the current version of Microsoft Flight Simulator, something that came out, I want to say, a few months ago, that I was initially very excited about, along with, I think, pretty much everybody else who plays these games, or these kinds of games. When I first played it, when it first came out, it was okay, but I did notice some graphical issues, but I was like, hey, it's launch week. You know, that's just happens. It's that crazy, whatever. I went to play it again today, just do a short, fly around New York City in a World War I era biplane, so nothing super fast or anything like that. So it would look good, the city would look good. When you're going fast in these games, sometimes it can kind of screw up the graphics. Anyway, if you saw my last stream, I went about it the way that I wanted to, and initially right off the bat, I was taking off from LaGuardia, and I was like, these graphics, horrible. The plane looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong. The plane itself looks beautiful when you do external view. Plane looks beautiful also. The game's a little glitchy, and I don't really mind the whole glitchiness aspect, really, as much as it bothers some other people that I see online. So I was like, all right, yeah, let me get off the ground. It'll probably it takes a second to, render, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm flying around, and it just doesn't look good. I don't know how else to really say it. I know I'm not flying at a high altitude or anything like that, but it shouldn't matter. I'm flying towards New York City, and half the buildings aren't there. The ones that are there are very generic, somewhat rectangular shapes. And main issue is it just doesn't look generally that good. The plane itself looks better than this plane does. This is the same kind of plane. I think I have a different livery on this one. The textures of the inside of the plane don't look quite as good. But that's not what I'm worried about. I just want to do a short flight around New York City, and even just starting now, like right off the bat. Are there less textures on the ground this far out from that landmass I'm seeing over there, which is New Jersey? Yes, to a degree, definitely. Even if you look to Manhattan, and even on the side of New Jersey, those buildings are the shape those buildings are. Okay? They're not just a blob shooting out into the sky. Listen, I'm not a game designer. I don't work for any of these companies. I don't know really that much about what goes into making these games. The realistic thing here is that this game just came out, or the game I was playing earlier just came out a few months ago. By default, it should look just as good as this game. Default. Realistically, it should look better. I'm playing this on a Series X Xbox. I'm not part of the PC Master Race. I don't have a gaming computer or anything. It's the same console that I was playing new one on. And this, which is Microsoft 2020, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, I have woefully too many DLCs downloaded for this game for an Xbox to realistically handle. I have them enabled. example would be like the boats. A lot of boats for New York Harbor. Don't get me wrong, it's a busy port, but a lot of boats. Regardless, I have a lot of graphical packages and third-party downloads downloaded and enabled on this game right now, on this Series X console. And it's not perfect by any means, don't get me wrong. But I'm at, 1600 PGL right now. And this looks arguably very good. For a game that's, well, now, I guess you could say almost 5 years old, basically, looks very good. And on top of that, I have all those graphical packages downloaded that tax the console even more. And right now it looks fine. The city looks like the city looks. I go there very often. I know what it looks like. If you were to compare this site to my earlier stream, even this close to Manhattan, most of those buildings wouldn't even be the proper shapes they currently are. And there is no DLC content for the new Microsoft Flight Simulator. Outside of the base stuff that you get when you download the game. I had downloaded the game, or I had purchased the game with the, whatever they want to call it. I don't even know what it's called, but the Super Fancy Special Edition. Because I wanted the best version of the game that they offer when the game comes out. Just did. And there is no extra stuff yet. None of my DLCs for this game are downloaded in the other game because it's not available, with the exception of the stuff that was released by Microsoft. But, and I think this is where the problem might lie primarily, I'm not really sure. All the DLCs and downloads that Microsoft came out with for this game, which is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, all their official downloads for, updated rendering and everything else for certain parts of the planet and, certain cities. All of that is being used in the current version of Microsoft Simulator 2024. There's only one difference. In an effort to keep storage space as low as possible, and to load times down, it seems that all of that content that was created for this game primarily, and then for obviously the new one, is only streaming. So it's real time that's being used. When I say real time, I mean it's not downloaded on your PC or your console, like in this game. So basically, if you go to the downloads section of the new Microsoft Flight Simulator, you'll see all that stuff there, but it'll be enable or disable, stuff like that. But when it comes to how it's being used, it says stream next to it. There is no download. You can't even download it. So there's no, you don't even get the option. I understand that one of the primary things that was talked about this game towards the end of its quote-unquote life cycle, if you want to call it that, was very long load times. And, if you wanted to have all your downloads, it's a big game. It's the game itself is big. We're talking, I think, over 100 gigabytes by itself. And then if you start using downloads like I have for this game, it takes up a lot of space. And, for PC users, that might not be as much of a problem. I know for console people, depending on what you're running with, that could be problematic. But it looks as though, in an effort to change those things, they've literally taken the the choice of the user away. So while you can use that content, it has to be streamed. And I think that, I'm not an expert, but even from what I've been seeing online and people who are way more into this kind of stuff than I am on the technical level, it seems that a good portion of the lack of quality of the visuals in the new Microsoft Flight Simulator stems from the needing to stream a lot of this content. I have good internet. I'm lucky enough to have very, very fast, decent internet. So, outside of being hardwired in, which I'm not, I'm hardwired into a router extender, but I'm not hardwired into the base router. I have good internet, and even with that kind of internet, the visuals are just not good. The new one. Again, planes look great. On the inside and out, they look amazing. Planes look great. I mean, the planes look great here. I mean, this game, arguably, looking at a game that's almost 5 years old at this point. Yeah, I mean, you see a little pixelization of the wires and stuff like that. Yeah, sure. But generally speaking, planes look good. Plane, this same model in the new one looks even better. It looks great. Every plane I've seen in the new one looks amazing. But when it comes to everything outside of the plane, that's where it becomes problematic. The cockpits, the displays and everything in like the Cessna 172 and even in this, which again, there's not really much to look at in this cockpit. Let's see. It all looks good in the new one. But the visuals externally are just not good. Even when you're on the ground and you're not moving, and you think that things would render in well, just don't. Which obviously is very unfortunate. And people are mad. People are mad. I did not realize. I bought this game. It came out. I played it probably the first week that it was out, and there were things about it that I was like, oh, that's weird. But again, launch week. It's launch week. I'm not gonna light up company because hey, launch week was a little chaotic. I mean, unfortunately, it seems that most launch weeks for most games these days are, not the best. Unfortunately. When I was trying to, and if you watch my earlier stream or at least scroll through it, you'll see what will happen. I restart the flight maybe 3 different times. I'm going in and changing as many settings as I can, which for Xbox, visually speaking, the graphics options kind of aren't there. It's just, I think HDR10 is your only graphics option. There's really no going in and changing things. I was looking online to see if I could maybe it is something in the settings, and I just, I haven't found it yet. The only other option that people were stating was the photogrammetry setting, which was default on for me, and I think it is for most people. I saw some people online saying, hey, shut this off, and it'll fix most of your rendering issues, and, the blobs, and that building that is supposed to look like this kind of looks just like a round blob shooting out of the ground and stuff like that. And the boats, if they are there, they're just geometric shapes in the water. And the trees are very blobby and stuff like that. I tried those options. If you watch that stream, which I honestly don't really suggest you watch. I mean, outside of maybe like 5 or 10 minutes tops, just to get, to see visually what I'm talking about, because it's kind of jarring considering who we're talking about here. We're talking about Microsoft. We're talking about, Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is an iconic game franchise. Oh look, light. an iconic game franchise that, you know, for a long time we didn't have any installations of. I mean, I don't remember exactly what the last Microsoft Flight Simulator was before Microsoft 2020, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I think it was Microsoft Flight Simulator X, I think it was called. I know I played that. I don't think I ever actually owned it. But I believe that was like 2010 that came out. So, you know, you're talking 10 years between that one and this one, and then another, you know, 4 or 5 years between this one and the newest one, which just came out. And, I mean, bad, dude. Like, I'm looking at the comments on Microsoft Flight Simulator's Instagram page and their Facebook page, and they post stuff, and I'd say that 98% about of the comments in those posts are not related to those posts at all. They're talking about specific things that are wrong with the current game, like very specific stuff like, oh, this switch in this plane doesn't work, all the way to what I'm talking about, which, you know, I think what I'm talking about is generally more realistic complaints, I guess you could say, to have. The game just doesn't look good, which is, you know, again, like I've said, very unfortunate. But I mean, the comment sections on these posts are really bad. There's a post from, I think it was a few days ago, and let me see if I can find it. Let's see here. Yeah, so there was a picture. Let's see, when was this posted? This was posted 4 days ago. It's a photo of, and don't get me wrong, I like planes, but I'm not really an expert on modern civilian aircraft. It looks like some type of Cessna twin engine flying over a mountain. And the picture of the plane flying over this mountain in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2000. So, arguably, 25 years ago, 25-year-old game. That would have been only available on PC at the time, I believe. And it's this twin-engine turboprop, I believe, flying over this mountain. And it's a Throwback Thursday photo, and it says, "Can you name this location?" Then, the second photo is the same type, generally, flying over that same mountain in the newest game, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. And it says, hey, can you name this mountain or whatever? And, you know, while a few of the comments are people actually answering, you know, what they think it is. They think it's Mount Rainier, they think it's Mount Everest. Not even sure what the actual answer is. I think it is Mount Rainier. I could be wrong. Going off of looking at it. Turn around here. But if you look at the comments, it's like, well, there's maybe, I mean, this is a 3 or 4 day old post. I don't know how many comments there are. It looks like there's 105 comments right now, which is insanely low when you think about how many people follow Microsoft Flight Simulator on Instagram. You know, maybe 3 or 4 of the comments are like serious, you know, like answers to the question that they're asking. Every single other comment, every single one, is either talking about something specifically in the game that's not working for them, or, you know, hey, you know, when are you going to fix the game so I can buy it? That's another thing. People aren't even buying it because they know how bad it is. And I'm looking at this, and I mean, you know how the internet is. You know, you got people who are voicing their concerns. You know, well, you know, they're stating, "Hey, this is an issue. Can you fix this, please?" And then there's the other side of the spectrum where, you know, they're not doing that, right? They're making jokes. I mean, the first one that I see here is, "Does it run smoothly already?" Which is a pretty polite way of saying it. And, you know, a lot of them are the fact that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2000 is looking and functioning better than Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is crazy work. You know, that's very 2024 comment for you right there. But he's not wrong. I mean, that's a little bit dramatic. It doesn't look quite as bad as a 25-year-old game, but it's getting there. I mean, from what I was seeing, I mean, I even made a comment myself that was a little long, but, you know, not rude or anything, just stating, you know, what I see as facts, unfortunately. And, you know, it does look like an old game. You know, if you're not looking at the actual plane inside of the cockpit or the outside of the plane or anything, if you're looking at everything else, it looks like a game from 2010. And that might even be being a little on the polite side, which, you know, again, it's unfortunate. I'm not an expert in making games. I don't work in game studios. I never have. I've never been good with computers in that way. I mean, it's, you know, it'd be one thing if it was bad and they're like, hey, listen, we're working on it, you know, this, that, and the other, but the other part of this that's actually really upsetting is that there really doesn't seem to be a whole lot of communication coming from Microsoft right now. There have been updates. I know there have been updates, but while it's fixed a lot of the launch issues the game had, doesn't seem to be remotely kind of even hinting at the fact that, hey, we have issues here regarding visual gameplay of the game. So I didn't talk on the last stream, and I wasn't going to talk on this one until I realized, you know, what was kind of going down over in Microsoft Flight Simulator land. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what's going on. It's unfortunate because, again, we don't really get many flight simulators, especially ones that have this kind of backing and take it, at least normally, relatively seriously. I mean, you know, you can't play DCS on a console. Not happening. And even if you could, there's so much that goes into that game that most people probably, you know, wouldn't want to play. Sometimes people just want to hop in a plane and fly over Central Park, like I'm doing right now. That's the whole point of my last video, or at least it was going to be, was that it was going to be just like, you know, a relatively short ASMR, quiet flight around Manhattan or the city. And I wasn't able to really do that. I mean, I did do that, but it just visually looks terrible. I was going to leave it at that until I started playing this again, and I was like, how is it that a game that's 4 or 5 years older on a console with a boatload of DLCs from Microsoft and third party that should not, you know, in theory, work well, all enabled on a console. The game looks like this, where if you go and look even for 5 minutes at my last stream, I mean, it's night and day. That's my little rant for today. Just because it's really bad, dude. Like, I don't know how else to put it. We'll just fly around for a little bit more. I talked enough. But yeah, we'll fly around Manhattan, maybe a little bit of Brooklyn. Talk to you guys later. taking a look at some of this. The cars are a little floaty. I don't know what the road's doing down there under the bridge. Got lines in the water and stuff. There's like a halo effect on the bridge. I don't know what those are. I'm assuming they're boats of some kind. Moving way too fast in New York's waterways, but whatever. Actually, I think those might be vehicles, cars that are which. Yeah, so again, this game is not perfect by any means. Now, I have a bunch of downloads kind of pushing this Xbox to its limit right now. You can see some of those buildings are not rendering quite right. Roads doing some weird stuff. But the fact of the matter is this is a 4 or 5 year old game, and I'm maxing out my Xbox with DLCs like this. This military ship right here. That it's not in the base game. That's a third-party add-on, along with actually pretty much all the boats you're currently seeing. So again, it's not perfect. There are things like that dock is like morphing into the water. Again, compared to the base gameplay, the brand new one that just came out, it's pretty wild. I'm surprised that there isn't some kind of lawsuit going down. To be honest with you, that's how bad it is. And there might be. I did see some whispers about it in comments. I didn't see anything official. Again, just food for thought. As it stands currently, and I hate to say this because I hate to say this about any game, but as it stands currently, the new Microsoft Flight Simulator is not worth buying. Until they fix the issues that they have, it's not worth buying at all. I mean, unless you're always flying at like 35,000 feet and you never come close to the ground, unless you're just doing that, which I don't know why you'd really be doing that, it's not worth buying. We'll fly around a little bit more here, and then I'll close the stream. guys. Back on mic just for a second. So hopefully Microsoft figures out their issues sooner rather than later, especially I know for console players that, I mean, they're going to lose interest potentially by the time it's fixed. I saw one comment from a guy who actually worked with Microsoft, not for them, but worked with them regarding this game, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and it was, you know, about perfecting it. And this was long after the game had come out. He said that it was, you know, as recent as, you know, partially this year. And he was like, yeah, they were still tweaking this game, and they released the next one before this one is even technically quote-unquote finished. It's updating everything. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt, I guess. But I might hop on to another game here in a little bit, stream a little bit more. If I don't, Happy New Year.